21.5 million voters turned out for yesterday's district council elections, the first citywide poll since the last year's Occupy protests.
But the high turnout rate did not lead to a power reshuffle as many had predicted.
The district council elections have been touted as the first major political battle since the Occupy protests, and judging by the voter turnout, the polls lived up to the hype. Electoral Commission Affairs Chairman Barnabas Fung announced this morning that a total of 1.46 million registered voters cast their ballots yesterday. That's a record turnout of 47%. Compared with the last polls 4 years ago, there were 265,000 more voters this time, a 5.5% surge. It also smashed the previous record of 44% in 2003, which followed the historic July 1st rally, in which 500,000 people marched on the streets. There were predictions that a high turnout rate would favor the Pan-Democrats, but it seems the impact, if any, was only slight. The pro-Beijing camp successfully retained a majority in all 18 districts, although there were close calls in Sha Tin and Shenzhen. Out of 431 seats that were up for grabs this year, the top 5 pro-establishment parties secured 193, or 44.8%. The DAB remains the biggest party, controlling 119 places, followed by the Federation of Trade Unions with 29 seats. New People's Party, Liberal Party, and Business and Professionals Alliance won another 45 seats combined. In the Democratic camp, the Democratic Party lost 4 seats but remains the leader with 43. Despite the surprise defeat of leader Frederick Fung, the Association for Democracy and People's Livelihood earned 3 more places this year with 18. One of the biggest surprises was the Neo Democrats, which scored in 15 of 16 districts it contested to become the 3rd biggest Democratic bloc. What's worth noting is that so-called radicals from Civic Passion, People Power, and League of Social Democrats did not win a single seat. Including 66 uncontested seats, the pro-Beijing camp controls 46% of the district council. The Pan-Democrats occupy a quarter of the seats, while another 2% belong to so-called umbrella soldiers, first-time candidates inspired by the Occupy movement.
Some pro-democracy heavyweights occupying so-called super seats did less than super in the polls. Despite losing key positions, their parties insisted they were successful overall. Karen Yang reports.
3 lawmakers who entered Lechou as super district councillors in 2012, Frederick Fung, Albert Ho, and James To, all sought re-election yesterday. But To was the only one who managed to keep his seat. Fung, who belongs to the Association of Democracy and People's Livelihood, was beaten by Federation of Trade Unions Chen Ming-yan, who just got 99 votes more. Fung has been in the seat in Lai Kok constituency in Shenzhen for 12 years. Some say his former party colleague Wang Chongqi, who ran as an independent candidate, helped unseat Fung, as he managed to take 215 votes away from him. Wang refused to comment on the allegations. Fung, meanwhile, demanded a recount that only served to confirm that he lost. Another Pan-Democrat heavyweight, Albert Ho from the Democratic Party, has also been priced out of his super seat. He was ousted by former Law Society President Junius Ho in Tunmun's Lok Choi constituency. Ho, who occupied the seat for over a decade, admitted failure and said he will review his work in the district. But the Democratic Party still deserves an overall passing grade, according to Chairwoman Emily Lau, despite losing 4 seats overall.
We are happy that we have so many new faces, young faces, and many people will see, and I'm sure they will agree with us, that we have achieved this transition so that people see that the Democratic Party is moving to a younger, very capable leadership. And these people will in future steer the party.
Meanwhile, the New Democrats, who only formed in 2010 so did not enter the last polls, won 15 out of their 16 bids. That means they've met the minimum requirement to nominate a candidate to contest one of the 5 super seats in the legislature next year.
We have secured 15 seats mainly due to the fact that the people are supporting our ideas to fight for true democracy. We are firm Democrats on the universal suffrage issues. They support our stance on supporting people of Hong Kong in priority.
The Civic Party's Kenneth Chan parachuted into South Horizon's West constituency, but failed to unseat incumbent Lam Kai-fai. But Chairwoman Audrey Yu said her party enjoyed overall success, winning 10 seats, 3 more than last time.
CY Leung's administration has always been saying vote them out, and they think that with the constitutional reform package being voted down, this will mean that the community will turn against the pan-democrats, and I think that has clearly miscalculated.
Yu also said they have brought new faces to the district body and found to nurture more young people to participate in local affairs. Karen Yang, ATV News.
As with the pan-democrats, there were shock defeats in the pro-establishment camp. DAB reigned supreme once again, but admitted it was expecting to lose some seats. Vicky Wan reports.
Although it won 17 seats less than the 2011 district council elections, DAB remains the largest political party in the city by grabbing 119 seats yesterday. But DAB legislator Christopher Zhong lost his seat to independent Choi Chi-kin, who applied to run for the election on the last day of the nomination period. Another lawmaker, Elizabeth Kwok, was beaten by Labour Party's Yip Wing. DAB chairwoman Sterry Lee admitted that she was shocked by the result.
I think every district or every situation have different factors, but as a whole, we feel that the voter want to pass a very clear message. They will look into detail for every individual candidate. And even though you are the current district councillor, you may not have that advantages to win.
Among the elected members, 33 were under 35 years old. Lee praised the performance of the younger generation in her party, adding that members will review the results ready for next year's electoral vote. Following the DAB, the Federation of Trade Unions got the second most votes among the pro-establishment parties, with 29 seats. Notable winners included Wong Kwok Heng in Siu Sai Wan and Chen Wen-yan from Sham Post Lai Kok, who beat veteran pan-democrats Frederick Fong. Meanwhile, New People's Party chairwoman Regina Ip described the election as a tough war, as many of her colleagues were beaten.
Well, I think in middle-class constituencies, the voters' choices are primarily politically driven because they are dissatisfied with the government's performance or the overall atmosphere of our society, and partly because they want to give a chance to newcomers.
Her party lost 5 seats in the New Territories East, but secured 26 seats in all. Liberal Party James Tan said he understands that the Occupy movement last year has inspired many to come forward to vote, but it is hard to tell which side will benefit in the end.
As you can see, during this district board election, a lot of pan-democrats senior member lost, together with some of our pro-establishment senior member, including Liberal parties, actually loses a few seats, although by a narrow margin.
Tian added that the participation of youngsters is a trend that all traditional parties have to pay attention to, especially in the 2016 Legislative Council election. The party got 9 seats yesterday, the same number it captured in 2011. Vicky Wan, ATV News.
This year's election saw a staggering number of fresh young faces, spurred on by last year's Occupy protests.
The first-timers managed to secure a handful of seats, which some analysts say may cause concern in Beijing. A new generation of pro-democracy candidates pulled off shock victories with the rise of so-called umbrella soldiers, young supporters of last year's Occupy movement. Member of new pro-democracy group Youngspiration, Kwang Po-ying defeated Kowloon City Council Chairman Lau Wai-wing in Whampoa West. The 29-year-old is the only one of 9 Youngspiration candidates to win a seat. Her colleague, 24-year-old Yao Wai-ching, almost won a seat, but lost to lawmaker Priscilla Low by just 300 votes. Another first-time candidate who secured a seat was 28-year-old Clarice Yeung. She beat New People's Party rival Gigi Wong in Taihang. Political analysts say the poll could provide some pointers for next year's Legislative Council election.
The results this time shows that the umbrella soldiers reflect the intention or the wishes of the youngster. Yeah? So I think Beijing is worried that the effect of the umbrella soldiers will continue or expand at the long run will influence the election in the future.
At least 40 candidates who took part or were inspired by the Occupy protests ran in the elections.